Okay, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us on this webinar here this morning and this afternoon. My name is Chris Hill. I'm with the marketing group here at Taqtile. I'm joined with John and Johnny. We have a great session planned for you around OEMs, OEM operations, how to use digital work instructions to modernize those. Just a note, handful of notes. One, this is recorded. Two is we'll have plenty of time at the end for Q&A, so feel free to submit in the Q&A tab. And then also, if you're not specifically an equipment manufacturer, we think you'll still find this session meaningful. There's a lot of overlap between industrial companies and OEMs and how they use digital work instructions. So with that, let me turn it over to John and Johnny.
All right, thanks, Chris. And thanks for everyone for attending. For those of you that maybe were expecting someone else, perhaps Kelly Malone, our Chief Business Officer. Kelly dislocated his shoulder this morning. So shout out to Kelly. Hope he feels better soon. So I'm taking on the opportunity to present today and kind of talk you through what Manifest is all about, in particular, what it can mean for OEMs and some of the OEMs we're already working with. There's some great feedback. So we'd like to share everything that's been achieved so far. So we've got a compelling agenda. We're going to start with the OEM challenge and really the opportunity Manifest presents. We're going to talk a little bit about how the digital work instructions can actually help drive a significant OEM offering. And then I think what everyone's waiting for, the live demo. Johnny Gorbett is going to give us the demo. And then we'll wrap it up with just a couple slides at the end, tie it up in a bow, and then move on to the live Q&A. Of course, if you have any questions during the presentation, feel free to throw them into the Q&A chat. We may hold off on answering them until we get to the very end, or we may answer them as we go. We're just going to see how many come through. So definitely do not feel that you need to limit yourself in the questions you ask. The next slide, please. As quite a few, Taqtile's been around for quite a while. We were founded in 2011, and we got into this, let's call it spatial computing game back in 2016 when we were invited to join Microsoft on stage to really launch the HoloLens 1. So we've been at this, I like to say, as long as humanly possible. I'm based in Paris. I think I've spoken to a couple of you already. We have Chris coming in from Seattle, where our headquarters is located. Our development offices are in Arizona. And then we've also got an office in Sydney for Southeast Asia. We've got a ton of partners that we've been working with for many years. Some of them are OEMs themselves, using Manifest for their customers. We'll touch on that in a little bit. And then we've got some great customer examples. And these customers run the gamut from defense to manufacturing to commercial aviation, literally anyone who sees value in capturing knowledge today and then using that captured knowledge to enable workforces to do jobs more effectively than ever before. In fact, some of these are also OEMs. So again, we'll touch on that. So go ahead, Chris. Now, your timing was perfect. Great, thanks. So why do OEMs need to modernize? There's a lot of successful businesses out there where people are able to sell their widgets, keep their customers very happy. And we certainly did not get into this Manifest game with the idea that we were going to have an OEM offering. But over the years, we've had a ton of customers come to us and say, hey, listen, we are seeing great results internally. And we think that with the subject matter expertise that we have in terms of creating these products, we can actually help these customers do better with what we're selling them. And so really it was the catalyst to us to really start to think about what can we do in terms of the product to help answer these problems that these end customers are experiencing. And of course, everyone wants to sell an AI-driven whatever right now, because that's what customers are asking for, even if it's just a hunk of metal. So complexity of equipment is increasing. We definitely see that the operations themselves are extending to customers, distributors, the field. And so what can we do to help enable those operations actually or perform successfully the very first time? And then, of course, as the world modernizes, customers they're just not accepting paper anymore. And they're even getting to a point where if you offer them we've got a digital solution and it's just your manual in PDF form and now it's on an iPad or another tablet, that doesn't really take advantage of everything that is out there, in particular tools like Manifest. And then, of course, for those of you that have been able to experience the power of remote assistance, it goes far beyond just what a call center can do. It can actually get into the actual experience the customer is having and actually show exactly what they need to solve whatever problem they're bringing to you. So all of these things are really driving a desire for OEMs around the world to modernize. Go ahead, Chris. Thanks. What do you need to modernize? What do you need to have a very compelling and successful offering that is better than what you have today? You need to be sure to enable within your offering that you can drive faster training. Everyone, think about when you just got something from Amazon, you open the box and you want to start using it immediately. With a lot of these complex products, that's very difficult to do. And so what can we do to actually drive faster training and onboarding and begin to delight your customers the day your products arrive with them? Of course, a lot of these customers with the complexity are driving a higher quality of support that goes far beyond just a call. And then also the cost of actually sending someone out is prohibitively expensive, especially if you know what the technology can, or what can be achieved with the technology today and really offset or even remove that cost entirely. They want tools to scale across the lifecycle stages. Some of these products can be in the hands of these customers for many years, and they want to ensure that you are there with them from the unboxing until the actual time that that product should be scrapped. And what can you do to ensure that they have a delightful experience with your products at every step of the game? And then in a lot of cases, and we have a number of customers in this area, they're driven by regulatory bodies. They need better compliance. Within that compliance requirement, the documentation needs to constantly be updated or changed. And so a lot of that is really driving a lot of consternation, a lot of grief on the side of the OEM because they just can't keep up with what their customers are required to have. And then finally, and this is probably one of the most important ones, it's an opportunity to create a new revenue service. This is really what gets people excited, especially when it can turn something from a cost to a benefit. So if you have the ability to actually offer a service that customers were more than willing to pay for, you should do it. And Manifest can help with that. So when we think about transforming the OEM product lifecycle, there's a ton of stuff in here that's pretty exciting. So the use cases vary from that commission, the startup. We've already talked about the customer onboarding and training, absolutely critical, especially if those customers themselves are seeing a high attrition rate with the folks that they have. They need up-to-date tools that they can train people quickly and easily. The field repairs and maintenance are very important. You want to keep your customers happy so that those repairs can be done quickly. The maintenance is easier than ever before, or at least you arm them with the tools to make that easier. And then if that doesn't quite work or they get stuck, you want to have something like remote assistance as an offering so that they can actually send a video call to your support team, and then you as the expert can see what they're experiencing and offer the exact solution they need to keep that machine up and running. And then, of course, we are seeing a life cycle, a virtuous cycle, where customers that have engaged with these type of solutions are actually able to provide product feedback. And in a lot of cases, that can even happen with remote assistance calls. So they can actually show what their experience is, and then that can be fed back to the product designers, which is absolutely incredibly valuable for them to have, because they really want to understand how these customers are using their products. And being able to provide that feedback in this way is a super compelling opportunity for them to learn and provide even better products. Go ahead, Chris. So our solution is Manifest, and you probably wouldn't be here if you hadn't done a little bit of research, maybe gone to our website, watched a couple of videos. But we work with customers in literally all areas. So I think back many years ago when we started with the US Army, despite the largest budget in the world, when we sat down with them, they were on pen and paper. And then we have some other customers that have already embraced a modern solution. Maybe it was Microsoft Guides or something else. And it's either that life cycle has ended for that product, it has with Guides, or they've hit a roadblock with their modern solution and actually want to embrace something a little bit more enterprise focused like Manifest. And then a lot of times we meet customers in the middle where they've gone so far as to take that PDF, that digital PDF, and have provided it to their customers on a tablet or the ability to read it on a tablet, but it doesn't really encompass everything that could be delivered with those instructions. And we're going to touch on that in just a second. So we are, and our key capabilities are all about digital work instructions and the collaboration and remote assistance. And then as a true enterprise product, we have the ability to tie Manifest into backend systems. So through our APIs, we can tie into SAP, ServiceNow, literally any backend system that allows for data flow to go between Manifest and that backend system. So work orders can be imported from that backend system, and then those completed work orders can be fed back in. We can tie into IoT systems. There's really no limit to what we can do for that backend integration. And what this all means is it's an offering that you can, if you choose, first use internally for your own teams, your own training departments, your own operational endeavors. and then also offer exactly what your customers need so that they can be successful using your products. So when we talk about digital work instructions, and I apologize, I am going a little bit fast here, but I know people want to get to the demo. So if you don't mind, that's great. So when we think about digital work instructions, we are very serious about how the content is created and then really moves through an editorial process and then used. And we do that through a role-based system. So we have folks on the admin side that are just sitting behind the scenes and making sure everything is in alignment. We have authors that are actually creating that content. We have the folks that are actually using it, the operators. We have the remote assistance feature, which we call Manifest Connect. So you might see that connect term used throughout this presentation. And then we even have a way to just view the content without even enacting any kind of work order. So if people just want to get back up to speed with how a process can be done, but they don't want to actually create any kind of work package around it, they can just view the content right there and then. All of this is supported by augmented reality and these multimedia aids. And that's a fancy term for saying pictures and videos. We also have AR visual indicators. So we can use an AR arrow or circle, something like that, that can point to something very specific on the machine that the operator is working on when they're inside of Manifest. And then, of course, we do support the written word. So if you do have a bunch of PDFs, and maybe there's a compliance requirement that someone actually has to have that PDF in front of them, we can import those PDFs and actually show them the very page that aligns to the step that they're on. And I said this over and over, but Manifest is designed for enterprise. And what that means is it is a full enterprise solution used throughout enterprises around the world. And it has everything that is needed to be called that. It's really about the ability to identify faults very quickly, to create evidence when someone is on a step and they want to make sure that they have done it. They can take a picture or a video of that step. The publishing around the content itself is run through a very strict editorial control process where you assign people various roles in that editorial process so that you ensure that none of the content that gets in front of your operators isn't exactly what they need to see. Or more importantly, none of the content that gets in front of your customers isn't exactly what they need to see. And then we have, of course, DevSecOps as well. The advanced capabilities are really around these things listed here. So it's the spatial experience itself, if you choose. You can certainly run a lot of this on an iPad and not use any of the spatial at all if you choose not to or don't want to offer that to your customers. But within that spatial environment, we do support digital twins, and we have some AI on the content creation side, and we'll touch on that in just a bit, which is around AI-aided content ingestion. So we can actually help create these processes using the power of AI and your subject matter expertise to create really compelling content for yourselves and your customers. We also have the remote assistance. We're actually going to show that in just a second. But we have a strong device choice. We are device agnostic. So it can be any kind of head-mounted device. That's what HMD stands for. The tablets can either be on a web portal on a tablet, or it can be running natively on an iPad. And then that web portal, of course, is supported in a browser form on a PC or a Mac. Within our chat for remote assistance, we have the ability to file share. You can exchange videos, pictures, PDFs, and procedures. And then we also have that augmented reality enabled live stream. So we're streaming audio and video, and we have the ability to put AR markers within that stream. So as a subject matter expert sitting behind my PC, or maybe I'm on an iPad, I'm connecting with an operator who's running into an issue, I can put AR markers in his field of view so that he can actually see exactly what I'm asking him to focus on as he tries to complete the task with my help. And then, of course, we understand that not everyone wants to be in the cloud. If they do, great. If they don't, we can, of course, install on-premise behind your firewall. That's a little trickier if you're actually offering this to your end customers. We would definitely think the cloud would be the way. But for those people that are very security conscious and want to keep this inside the house, we can absolutely do that. And then we do support the edge, SATCOM, and then the connectivity is delivered through Wi-Fi or LTE 5G. So I already touched on this, so I'm not going to go into too much detail, but again, that API, that really helps us claim to be an enterprise player, and this really differentiates us from a ton of our competitors. We are super serious about what this API can do. So it can actually tie into all of the back-end systems that I mentioned earlier. And we've even provided some of these connectors and integration routes with our customers. So we're very skilled in Microsoft Power Automate. ServiceNow is a partner of ours, as is Oracle with their Unifier product. And then we work even providing a better streaming experience of the entire application through our great partners in Germany, HoloLite. Of course, they sell all over the world. And so Manifest can actually be streamed from a backend server through HoloLite Stream and Hub. And then, of course, I already talked about the IoT aspect, but being able to propagate live IoT data over a machine that someone's working on, they have a little AR indicator of actually what that IoT sensor is picking up. We can actually show that to the operator in real time, depending on the connection speed. And that's a really interesting way to work on a machine rather than lugging around a laptop and waiting for that backend service to get to you to tell you what that sensor is doing. We can weave that directly into procedure. Go ahead, Chris. So when we wrap all of this up, it's everything on the left moving over to the right. So again, it's the IoT connectivity through our API, the AI on the content side, the integrations I already spoke about. We can take literally any existing content that you might have today, really enrich it through this multimedia, and then provide through the use of Manifest all this operational data. So you can actually get a good feel for how people are using Manifest and even improve some of those standard operating procedures based on that experience, based on the telemetry you can pull off those work records. Very simple way to identify faults, recognize performance, rich asset history, and then work history as well. And all you need is your expertise. If you're a successful company today, you have people that know what they're doing. We're able to work with those individuals and help them create content in a very easy, low-code manner that really enables them to create content that literally anyone can follow. And then, of course, we have our devices listed over here. We have iPad front and center, but we started in spatial. So we have all of the known head-mounted devices below. And then you'll notice that there's two little Wi-Fi signals. We do operate all of this, or you have the ability to operate all of this offline. So that is very compelling for some folks that just want to be able to download the procedure, move to an offline area, perform the task, identify the fault, create evidence. All of that is cached on the device. And then when they move back into a connected environment, it's uploaded to the Manifest cloud or to that on-prem server. And as you might see here, we are now supporting DigiLens Argo. We're super excited about their entry into the market. They have a very compelling device. If you'd like to learn more about that, please hit me up after this call and we'll talk in detail. Go ahead, Chris. And here we go. On to the demo. So Johnny, I think I gave you enough time.
Yep, that is plenty of time. Thank you.
All right, fantastic.
So I will take over and hopefully you can see my screen now. So yeah, thanks for that overview, John. I think that's a good overview of what Manifest can do for OEMs and also for your OEM customers and end users as well. So what we've got today is quite an exciting demo. We've got a two-phased demo. The first phase, we're going to focus on Maker. So for those of you who don't know, Maker is our iOS-only application where we can create content really quickly, either by manual data entry, snapping photos, adding steps, or using our AI step generation tool to create some steps very quickly from videos or from manuals. So we'll go through that. And the idea here being that we can really take some weight and some heavy lift off this content creation and data entry for content creation. And then the second phase, we'll change our hats and change the use case slightly, and we'll jump to Manifest, again, on the iPad, and we'll jump into the shoes of an OEM customer or an end user. So someone who's gaining the value from using Manifest and going through this content. So with that being said, I'm in Maker on my iPad just in front of me here. And what we have in front of us is a number of templates. So templates are our digital work instructions, our procedures that we've created. And each one of these tiles is actually a work instruction. So really simple. You create a template and we can list out a number of steps, add a photo, a video, a model, just as John went through in that presentation. But for this example, what we want to go through is how can we create some content from a pre-existing manual that you guys or an OEM already has. They're already created and maybe they're being printed out and used at the moment, but we want to ingest that data really quickly and reduce the heavy lift. So as an example, if I go to the media library at the top, I can actually open up, today we're going to be working on this MUP guide. It's essentially a lift used in aircraft hangars, manufacturing lines, anywhere we need to get up quite high. So this is a two-person lift. And if I just scroll down in this file, this is a traditional manual. So we go through some safety warnings, some specifications, content component locations, and then we get to, this is the important bit of this manual. It's our workplace pre-use checks. a quick 11 checks that someone needs to do right before they use this equipment. Typically a daily inspection, but typically something that is often overlooked when going through and working on devices like this. So what we want to do is take this information and run this manual through our AI engine and grab these steps and pull them into the Manifest Maker really quickly. So I'm going to hit done, and then I'm going to go back to our initial templates tab at the top, and I'm going to create a new template. And I'm going to name it Aerial Lift Platform. I'm going to call it Pre-Use Checklist. So we're going to give it a nice simple name. That's our title. And I could now add my manual steps. So I could define how many steps I want. I could define each title, add a photo, add a video. But I actually want to use that AI engine I mentioned and pull the information from the manual. So I'm going to delete this first step and just make a nice clean workspace for us. And then what I'm going to do is select the auto-generate steps at the bottom just here. And that is going to open up my options. So I could either use a video. We've used these in previous webinars, and it's really, really simple to generate some steps from just a video, creating text and video clips. But as I have a manual, I'm going to select this Use Manual just at the bottom. And then I'm going to add my manual here. So I'll click Add, and my manual is on my iPad already. So I'll select it here, and I'll make sure that's selected. And then at the top, I'm also going to keep selected and keep toggled on this Generate Notes tab. And all this means is it's going to give me some additional text notes for this procedure. Now, the last thing I need to do is give this engine a prompt or a query. And it's just to make sure that it's filtering the right information and giving me the right content. Now, this can be quite generic, but if you want some specific information, want some specific data, we need to be a bit more precise. So I'm going to write out, list out the workplace pre-use checklist and make each step as the title. Each step as the title. So quite nice, clear, just giving it a prompt saying this is what I want you to do. Now, because I want it to be super precise on just that last page, I'm also just going to say, make sure to go through the whole document. So I want it to be as precise as possible. And that being said, I think that's okay. I'm now going to select the generate button at the top. I'm given the option for a cloud generation or on-device generation. And this is really great for if you lose connectivity, you're in an air hangar, you're in a factory, you're in a production line. You don't often have very good connectivity. So it can all be done on the device. But as I'm connected to the internet, I'm just going to use the cloud right now. And that will, in the background, quickly generate some steps for us. So hopefully this jumps in quickly. And once that's done, you can see we actually now have those steps listed out. So we have, the first one is to check the 6 months. Oh, actually, I moved that one around. Let me move that to the top. There's a feature you have. We have our first step, which is check manufacturer's operational manual is on board and in the basket. You can see we've got a step name just at the top here and an additional note just giving a bit more information. Again, we can scroll down. You can start to see we've just really quickly pulled that information from that manual. So we can do this for any size manual, any size procedure, any size document, and based on that prompt, we can actually pull out the information. All of this information is editable. So maybe if for this step here, which says open hydraulics bay and check the general condition, I want to actually edit this step and say this is, I need to click on it, say this is essential. So just really add some emphasis to this step being essential. I can add any text here I want. And I can also, if I scroll down to the bottom, I can see we've come to the end with the last step being check safety lights are operating correctly. So we can see all these steps we go through. And once we've verified them all, made sure they're all okay, I can just hit this add to template button at the top right. Now, the last thing I want to do before I maybe add some media is, although I went through all of this and these are the only checks I need to do, I actually want to add a final step, which just asks someone to leave some evidence that they've been doing the job correctly and they've actually done this task. So instead of having to generate some more steps or maybe go back and create a new template, I can just hit this add step button and I can maybe write out, leave some evidence when done. That can be the final step. Very simple, don't need to add anything else, but I can add something right there. So we can add stuff, we can take things away, it can be very tangible. But now what I've done, created these steps, really great, but I've only created the step title and some additional notes. So what I want to do now is add that enriched media John talked about. I want to add the photos, the videos, a 3D model if I have it, maybe a bookmark PDF. So what I'm going to do is I could either do this all in the office, do the air generation in an office, in a classroom somewhere, have it all set up, and then go into the field. Go in with a ruggedized iPad, you can throw it around, take the photos, and from here, I could actually take a live photo. So I could use the camera, quickly snap a photo, snap a video, and add it to the step. But as I don't have one of these lists in front of me, unfortunately, what I'm going to do is actually add some pre-created ones. So again, if you have all this content pre-created in a file or folder system somewhere, we can add them. So I'm going to hit this media button at the top right, and this is just some stuff I've already added previously. But I'm going to now hit and bring over this photo here because I want to highlight where the manufacturer's manual is in the basket. I'm going to click and hold, drag this over, and you can see that's nicely added. So what we've done is just really quickly added a photo. For step one, this photo will appear. Now, we also can use the markup tool. So it's native iOS tool here, really useful tool, and a very useful tool for complicated or really close quarters images. So this image is quite far away. If I really wanted to highlight this manufacturer's case or the manual case, I could hit this markup button, and now I can actually mark up this image. So what I can do is I could maybe highlight this with a circle, and doesn't look great, my unsteady hand with this pen note. So that is there available, but I can actually, more importantly, probably use a pre-canned shape. So I could just add a square, and I maybe want to highlight this, again, just pinching, highlight the manufacturer's manual case. So this is really obvious here, but just want to make sure this is what someone's looking at in this image. And then finally, what I want to do is also add a quick text note. So a quick text snippet here to give someone a bit more information to the step. And all I'll say is make sure all the documents are present. And I'll give it a little background of white so it really pops out, really stands out. And then I'll hit this add button at the top right as well. Although it may be a very basic example here, we can really quickly create some very detailed and annotated notes on this photo. And then I can hit save, and we've got our annotated note there. Now, a couple other things we can do, and I'll fly through these because I'm sure they make sense, but we can also ingest and pinpoint the manuals. So as we said, and as John said, often manuals are the word of law. We need to have them even in these work instructions. So we can have these pinpointed or ingested and pinpointed to a certain page. So if I navigate down to the bookmarks tab and I select add bookmark, we have the one we just created this work instruction for, so the mute guide, and we can actually pinpoint this to a certain page. So I know that page 6 is where this instruction is listed from, so I can ping it to say page 6, hit set bookmark, and that will really quickly pin a bookmarked PDF to this step, really highlighting to the person consuming this data the information they need. Now, one of the last things I'll show on this content creation side, again, this is very much the last 10% of the data entry, is we can also add videos. So again, if I could navigate down to this step, which is 7, open the hydraulics bay, this is an important step, and maybe a photo or a text note wouldn't do it justice. It needs a video to actually highlight what someone needs to be doing. So what we can do is, again, I've got a pre-created video here, but just like before, I could record one or take one from a library, but I've got a pre-recorded one. I can grab it and just pull it over and ping this into the work instruction. So again, we're saying on step 7, a video will appear and give someone a nice clear description and visual of the work instruction. And these videos can actually be cut up, changed. You can see there's a clip button here. So we can do some video editing in Manifest as well. You could pull in a whole video and just cut it up as you want. So we've created a nice work instruction, but the last thing I'll quickly show is if you have a 3D model available of this asset, maybe a 3D created one or a 3D scanned one, we can also ingest that into Manifest Maker. So if I go to the 3D models tab at the top, you can see we can either load from a 3D model, or if you don't have a 3D model, which often people don't have 3D models available, or maybe they're too difficult to capture, we can actually create a 3D scan. We can create, using Manifest Maker on the iPad or on the iPhone, we can create a scan of an object. So if you have one physically in front of you, you can take 10 minutes, do a couple laps around and create a really good scan. Again, I unfortunately don't have one of these devices in front of me, but I have done one in the past. So if I go to the media tab already, you'll be able to see one that I created earlier. So we have, it's a different color, but if I drag this across and pin it over into the step, we can see the 3D model has been added. And if I now go to 3D models, you can see we have work instruction 3D model. So I'll select it, and just to show you what that looks like, we can view 3D model, and you can see we have a 3D model of one of these lifts. So I could present this in augmented reality as well. I could present it into the real world, but just for this scenario, I'm going to show you it on a 2D screen. But you can really quickly, this took about 10 minutes to capture and process, but really nice 3D model that you can start to create content on as well. And with that being done, I'm then finish my work instruction, and I maybe add a few more bits, do a bit more fine tuning. But when I'm ready, I can hit this view button. I can see all the steps in a nice concise format. I can see all the step titles, all the notes, so the images, the text notes, the bookmarks and videos. And I can scroll through and edit any of these as necessary. So really the heavy lifting the AI did for that 90%, and then the final 10% is really that fine tuning and adding the photos. And then when I'm done, as an author and as a content creator, I can simply hit these 3 buttons at the top. And as long as I've connected my Manifest Maker account to our Manifest full platform, I can hit the export button and I can export to Manifest directly. So if I hit this export to Manifest and I type in aerial, we can see the aerial lift we have here. And all I need to do is hit the export button, and that content we've created really quickly can be exported directly to Manifest. And it would then go into an editorial phase where we can then start to do some AR anchoring, some 3D model editing, and go through an editorial phase ready for an end user. So at that point, I'm going to take a pause and I'm going to jump to a separate scenario. In the meantime, the only thing we would have missed is that editorial phase and some really quick no-code drag and drop AR anchoring. But just in the interest of time, I'm now going to change the scenario of an OEM customer. So someone who is using Manifest to train or to repair or to maintain equipment provided by the OEM. So what I'm going to do is simply swipe up, and I'm actually going to jump to Manifest. So you should be able to now see a different screen. I'm in the end user scenario, I'm in a training scenario, and I'm on my iPad on Manifest, and what I'm firstly presented with is the work tab. So you can see I've been through a number of other training modules on the right-hand side, some on the TP20, some on a pump, all assets that I'm working on in my own confined space, in my own area for my department or me as a customer. And the only job I have left to do is, again, the one we created, maybe finely tuned a bit more slightly, but is this aerial lift platform pre-use checklist. So what I can do is simply click on this checklist, and you can see, maybe you might be quite familiar now with all the steps we have on the left side. So you'll be able to see, again, we have that check manufacturer's operational manual is on board, check the capacity plate, and if I scroll down, you can see all the steps we have just here. And when I'm ready, and I've maybe reviewed these steps, and I've also reviewed some of the notes, so a bookmark, text notes, videos, photos, and even maybe I check the asset detail. So I check when I'm doing this, I'm on the right asset, I've been assigned the right job. I can hit the start button. And what that will do is it will kick the job off. Now, as I don't have a physical bit of kit in front of me, and maybe I'm doing this from self-serve training at home or in a classroom, what we can also do in Manifest is present 3D models in a really nice 2D environment. And we can still use the AR anchoring or the AR markup in a 2D world. So you can see on this first step, on the left-hand side, I am being asked to check the manufacturer's operational manual is on board and in the basket. I also have in the center of my screen a 3D model, and this 3D model is movable. So I can actually move the camera here, and I can zoom in just using native iOS interactions. And I can see right at the front of that basket, I've got this green square highlighting where the manufacturing manual would typically be. I still have all the information in the background. So on the left-hand side, if I tap on a bookmark, you can see we still have the bookmark PDF that I can scroll through, and I can actually go through and have a review of. I can swipe to the right, just again, using my finger, native iOS interaction there. I get a text note saying it's located in the MUP. And then I have our photos and our media. So we can still consume all that information. And once I've gone through this overview, I've gone through this orientation, I can simply hit done button and move to the next step. And again, this is another 3D model is brought up, the same one, but I'm now being guided to a separate location. So I'm being guided to the back, which is where this step is asking me to check the capacity plate and the 6-month inspection plate. So that's highlighting in the back of the model, and I can simply open up the additional information here. So we can bring in these 3D models, and if I hit done button, we can bring in these 3D models and really have a nice overview digitally of an asset you can work on without maybe needing to have this asset in front of you. Or if there's a scenario where maybe having augmented reality is difficult on a certain asset due to safety concerns, a safety risk, you can still have AR annotations pinpointing where a user needs to look, but on a 3D model in a 2D view. So you can see we have a nice view there of the control pad. So hit done. Now, maybe if I want to have a bit more real estate used, I want to actually really consume this 3D model, I can actually hit these hide details button at the top, and I can maybe have a bit more of this 3D model used within my screen. So I can actually really review where I'm looking here, and I'm being asked to check the pothole guards deployed and the pothole pins are deployed as well. So you can see I can view this, and I can actually go underneath the model. You can move this around really nicely, and you can actually probably get a more detailed overview than you would if you were using AR on the physical asset as well. It's pretty useful here. We can still open up, if I jump to the next step, we can still open up the same functionality with Manifest where maybe I want to leave some evidence. So I could click add evidence here. And if I was working on a physical asset, but using this 2D view, I could still take a photo or a video, leaving the evidence for me completing this job. Or if I maybe even the one below, if I found a fault, I could still leave a fault here, a really detailed description of the fault. And then I could jump into AR and leave a marker, but I have this 2D, 3D model in the background. So I'm going to jump to the next step again. And again, we can see we have a nice detailed 3D model, a view of the annotations there. And we also have our 2D or enriched media. So again, we have this one's got a marked up photo of what we're looking for. And then also a quick video, turn that down, quick video going through how to open up this hydraulics bay. So combining this 2D enriched media of photos, videos, 3D models that are annotated is a super powerful way to give someone the instructions they need to complete a job. So let me jump to the next step again, and we go through a similar format here with pointing down to the task. And I guess just in the interest of time, I'm just going to jump through. Then we get to the last step. And this is, again, similar to the step we added in that maker component, where I'm being asked to, the pre-use inspection has been completed. I'm given a nice title there, and it's asking me to leave some evidence. So again, all the steps previously, I've had the option to leave some evidence, but now I actually can't move on from this task until I leave some evidence. In a training scenario, maybe this is leaving some evidence that you found the training acceptable and you completed it without any problems. If it's this in a live operation, in a customer maintenance example, this evidence can be used for an audit trail or adhering to standards, or just to find a sign off for completing. So I can hit add evidence button, and I'm allowed to leave any evidence here. So I'll hit text note just for the example here, and I'll just say all steps, all steps completed. And then I'll hit save. And with that being done, I can hit the done button. Congratulations, your job was complete, your training, your package, your maintenance, and it's then returned me back to the work page. And this job, now in the complete tab, I could go and review, or more importantly, my manager, a shift manager, an admin can review this on the web portal, which is where we're going to jump to now.
All right, thanks, Johnny. Great demo. So I am going to take on the role of the manager, and I'm going to share the view of the web portal. So here I am inside of Manifest on a browser. I can see here the work history. If I go to work, I can see the work that's actually being conducted right now. But as Johnny said, he's just completed that job. So that has created a work history package. And I'm able to open that right here. And I can see that Johnny appears to have gone through all the steps correctly. I don't see anything big here. Oh, and here's the evidence he left. So I can actually pop open that text note. And in some cases, there it is, all steps completed. This might be required to actually sign off on this task. So this is something that I could actually use to first be alerted that Johnny's completed this task. And we could even tie this into an alert system. Maybe I'll get a text on my phone that Johnny's just done this. I need to review it, etc. And I can jump right into Manifest and do that here. But in this case, he just said all steps completed. But I know Johnny is always hungry for work. So if I go back to the work tab, I'm just going to go ahead and assign him a new job because he's so key on work here. And I'm going to have him go into the pump. And then it is a water pump task. And the job is the pump head removal. And I'm just going to assign that to him and then select him from this list here and assign and then create. So now that is a new job that's been assigned to Johnny. And so he can begin that task. Before we get there, I'm just going to show you a couple of other things since we're in the web portal. We do have the capability of creating specific organizations within a company. And what we're seeing from our OEM customers, in particular manufacturer number one, they can actually run all of their customer support system and content creation and then delivery to those customers right here inside of Manifest. And they can segment those customers out individually, which means that each one of these customers has their own view of Manifest for their org. And then we can go into the details 7 layers deep. If this customer has sites in Texas, California, and Florida, these can also be segmented. And you can ensure that whatever content you deliver to your customers, that it is ending up in the right hands. The other interesting thing about this is, from what customer one can see, they have no idea that customer two even exists. We're seeing it because we have God level access right here. But if I were, say, customer two in London, I would have no idea what's going on in Texas or California or Florida. And that even works for our remote assistance feature, so that you'll only be shown people that you can contact back at the OEM to actually call for help, or from other individuals within your customer company, they can contact each other. But we can segment all of that very easily. So in Connect, if we go there, and Johnny, I'm running this correctly, right? You've got the job. You're not actually going to show anything more. Is that right? Okay. I'll take silence as acquiescence. We're going to go into Connect, and I'm going to show you how Johnny and I can actually get in contact with each other. So again, I'm his manager. I have access to, of course, the org that we both sit in. I see he's just pinged me. He says, "Hi, John, can I have some help with this procedure?" Let me just do this. And then it says, "Help with this procedure." Now, I know I just assigned him that task, and he's probably got a pretty rich set of instructions, but let me just see, what do you need? And of course, this can be a video call, which we'll show in just a second. And I'm just waiting for him to reply real quick. And I'm sure he's furiously typing on his side. We're just waiting for it to actually arrive. And here it is. Can you send me the manual? Absolutely. So what I can do is I can pop this open and actually share the demo pump manual here, and then send it over to him. And so now he has the ability to actually use that manual in his experience. So at this point, I'm sure we could go back and forth over text, but I think it makes sense to maybe give him a call. So I'm just going to give him a call right here. And I'm going to mute the microphone here because we're all on this Teams call, so we don't want the furious echo. So as soon as that connects, I'm going to mute this. All right, perfect. And then also, I'm going to open this screen up a little bit more so you can see. And how's it going?
Good. I've got your manual here. I'm just going to cycle back to the right page. Yeah, I'm having trouble with removing the head. I'm on step 4, as you can see just here.
Yep.
I can't really remove it, so I need some help.
Okay, walk over to the pump if you can. I know this step is a little tricky. Kind of gives us an opportunity to improve the instructions, but in the meantime, I'll help you manually here. Right, so you've already got the filter off. Okay, perfect.
Yes.
So the way that you remove that pump head is you actually have to turn the pump head and the pump at the same time. And then you can actually get them out. So yeah, turn both.
Oh,
perfect.
Okay.
All right,
Yeah.
got it.
Okay.
Easy peasy.
Let me quickly just finish the rest of this. I think there's one more step, and then I can let you go.
Okay, no worries.
I will jump to the next step. Okay, I'm just going to open up this video as well and watch this. Okay, so remove the pump head from the pipe. Okay, I'm going to follow this and a little bit. Okay.
Excellent.
Okay, great. I'm just going to check the other photo as well. Yeah, I did it right, hopefully.
All right. Well
Okay,
done.
perfect. Thanks for the help.
All right. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye. Okay, so now if we wanted to, we could dive back into work and see that the work history that Johnny's just completed. He's had the pump head removal. The job is completed. As we showed earlier, there's no evidence to review. But essentially, what we've been able to do over the last, say, 25 minutes is show you a ton of stuff. So we were definitely talking about the AI integration on the content creation side with Manifest Maker. We talked about some of the OEM specific features, in particular orgs and what that can actually do for segmenting customers and ensuring that they get the content that they need. And then finally, we showed those support features, which are extremely handy. So all of that really delivers a great enterprise solution that you can use internally, or you can actually offer this out to your customers, as many of our customers are doing today. And with that, you get some great results. So our customers are saying that they have an 80% reduction in training times, a ton of less downtime. Of course, when you add or provide really rich media instructions, you can decrease errors because you're reducing the cognitive load. Some of you might have heard me use that term in the past. People just have access to more information than ever before, and they can actually do things right the first time. And then, of course, with all of this, it really drives down a lot of these costs in terms of travel time, the field visits, truck rolls. For our European friends, that means when you actually have to send a truck out to get something to help someone, certainly by providing that remote assistant feature. And even with just rich data-rich instructions that you're handing to them in the first part, that really lowers that as well. And then, of course, we can actually drive that there are accurate parts delivered. And then all other support costs can actually be mitigated with a healthy use of Manifest. So if you're interested, we'd love to talk to you. We have a number of offers that are special for this webinar. We have a training quick start that is comprised of 3 licenses and 3 hours of consulting. We've got a limited low price on that. So if people just want to get stuck in a very affordable way and just get going, that's a great option. If you want a lot more hand-holding, we do have a services offering called the Rapid Insights Program, where we actually sit down with you and really spend time defining what success can look like. We can focus on error rates or yield or whatever else that you're trying to achieve. And those can be anywhere from 3 to 6 months. And we actually have a really strong set of deliverables that you can then use to the higher ups to secure some budget to move forward. And then, of course, moving forward does allow for, of course, some discounted licenses. And that's a special offer that's tied to the Rapid Insights Program. And then for those of you that are all the way on the right side of that slide, I think that was slide 5 that I showed, that have already begun this spatial computing journey and are on guides and are concerned about guides going away and having been canceled by Microsoft, certainly with the HoloLens 2. We do have a guides migration program, and that's a 2-week engagement. You get a ton of support from us, and then we will actually migrate a couple of your guides procedures directly into Manifest. And most importantly, we will match guides pricing. So you present to us a total cost of ownership for guides. We will match that price for licenses of Manifest. So ultimately, there's a range of structured engagements that help you get going quickly. We've been very successful with all 3 of these, so you can just pick anyone and be confident that you're going to move forward with success. But certainly reach out to us for more details.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, guys. That was fantastic. Anyone that's out there still and has some questions, feel free to enter them in the Q&A tab. We'd be happy to answer them. John and Johnny both have a ton of experience in this space with AR, with devices. So don't be bashful. In the meantime, these 2 QR codes on the slide, I will get you more information. So the first one will send you to our resource page on taqtile.com, and that will give you access to a ton of information, ebooks, videos, case studies, product shorts. Just a great spot to learn more if you're still exploring Manifest. And then the second QR code will take you to the Apple App Store, and you'll be able to download Manifest Maker, which Johnny demoed at the beginning of his session. And that's available for free. It works on the iPhone, the iPad, and AVP, the Vision Pro. So it's a pretty cool app. We have a great update to that plan for next week. So if you download it today, you'll get a notification next week and have access to the latest and greatest. Got a ton of new features. Pretty sweet app. So feel free to explore that. That's a great way to get started with Manifest. So I don't see any questions. You guys did a great job,
Chris.
today.
Johnny and I are just too good, I think.
Yeah,
or
I guess so.
We just forced everyone to drink from the Manifest fire hose, and they're exhausted, and they can't think of anything to ask.
Kelly was here, there'd be a ton of questions. With that, then I guess we'll wrap it up. If you do have questions later on about the demo or what John presented, you want to dive deep into any of these areas, feel free to reach out. We got a web form or a form on our web.
What? We do have a couple of questions.
Okay, cool.
I just refreshed it. Starting with Dustin asked, generating procedures from video, are clips and steps automatically split into different process steps? Are you able to re-record video or edit clips only? Johnny, do you want to take this one?
Yes, good question. And the answer is yes, we can use videos to generate those steps. And it's a really quick and easy way, and typically the way that's good for low device availability. So if you take a procedure, quick 10-minute video, 20-minute video of someone doing a task, you have an expert going through the task, talking through their steps, and also showing the steps they're doing, and then someone video recording them. The AI engine does split that up into the necessary steps and does edit those clips into small chunks. Within Manifest Maker, you can also do some video editing. So if you bring that whole video into the template tab, you can maybe cut up small sections of that and add it to different steps, however you want. Yes and yes, I think is the
perfect.
The
all right, I'll take the next one. Yeah. So can supervisors, managers put digital live markers, annotations during an interactive live video call? Yes. Yes, you can. We didn't demonstrate that today, but that is absolutely possible inside of our remote assistance feature, Manifest Connect, which we demonstrated. The next one, the pump AR demo had a sticker on the front of the pump. Is this necessary? Great question. So you notice that QR code. No, it is not necessary. We do use it for some spatial anchoring, but you can absolutely use Manifest without it. And we have a couple of ways that can still get AR markers spatially anchored and exactly where you want them. And we can certainly talk about it in more detail. The next one, let's see. I noticed a timer in the top right corner. I assume process time is being tracked. Are there any other metrics being tracked? And what does the analytics page, I've got to open this a little bit more, look like? What is the data output? Okay, great. So yes, the timer is there. Right now, the only thing that's really being tracked is who has been assigned a job, who is actually doing the job, how much time they've taken in the job, and then of course, any evidence or faults that they create in that job itself. So all of that comes together as a work package that can either continue to sit in Manifest or it can be exported into a backend workforce management system and analyzed there. So we're not doing any really strong analysis on the content itself. There's tools out there that do it better than what we would write ourselves. And so we're actually leaning on a bunch of those existing solutions that we can tie into with our API. And that's the data output. So next one.
Good.
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Chris.
No, I was just going to point you to the integration question.
Yeah, can Manifest be integrated with other tools and platforms, for example, Salesforce or another learning management system? Yes, absolutely. So customers are doing this on the daily. We, through our API, can tie into literally any backend system. That can be an LMS, that can be SAP, ServiceNow, the Oracle product we mentioned, literally anything, plus IoT, any ERP system that exists today. Through our API, we can connect to that. All right, and I think that is our last question. We have 2 minutes left. If everyone wants to throw a question in there, go for it. We're here to answer. We'll give that about 30 seconds and then give everyone their day back or their evening, as the case is here in Paris. And London. Sorry, Johnny, London.
So I think that's it. We will send the recording out. Thank you, John and Johnny. Great session. Thanks, everyone, for attending. And look forward to the next one next month.
Fantastic. And hope Kelly feels better soon. All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.